Okay, so there's been some other interesting news around the WWE, especially with that NXT's been taken over by Vince. I've got to laugh at Bruce.
Vince and Bruce Pritchard.
And I don't know if you've seen the new logo.
Yes.
It looks like a unicorn threw up all over it. I mean, admittedly, the NXT brand was a bit menacing looking, we'll say. It was dark. It was very serious, and it might have needed just a little bit of a light touch up. But what Nick Khan's done to it, the current director of operations at WWE, and it's a joke. It really is. I saw it just before, maybe about an hour ago, and I've gone, what are they doing? It looks like they've got a whole heap of 5-year-olds splash colour paints all over it. I don't know what you think, Pete, but
it's certainly very bright. Looks like something that would probably be on one of those gay pride flags. But
there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely not. No, absolutely not. I was going to go bisexual, but I was afraid of twice the rejection. But look, I tell you, I think Vince wants to take it the whole new area. Look, I suppose time's going to tell. It's going to be hard to know. I mean, apparently they just want to bring in people, not necessarily from the indies, and they want to bring in young people, big people. They're going back to the whole big guy sort of look. I think I was reported somewhere where they said no more midgets. So they were obviously making a reference that they really wanted sort of to go for that bigger bodied guy again and train them all up. The only problem with that, Mike, as I see it, is you're going to spin out a whole heap of talent that are all going to be the same.
Well, this is true. You're going to go back to the cookie cruncher sort that they had in the late 2010 sort of thing, and the other problem with that is unless you love wrestling, you never really understand it. Like, you can bring in somebody in that's physically impressive, but if they don't love and understand the industry, then they'll never get it. So they'll never really ever get over. There's an old saying in the industry that a wrestler will make you a little bit of money, a worker will make you a lot of money. And all they are is creating wrestlers. They're not creating workers at this point. So, time will tell. Time will tell. I could be absolutely wrong, and they could go out and do very, very well and dominate the world wrestling scene for another 30 years. Who knows? But, I find it a little bit hard to believe. And what's happening out at AEW right now is exciting.
Yeah, I mean, they're signing up all the talent. Obviously CM Punk, as we said last episode, was huge. Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson's coming in on the next pay-per-view.
The rumor Adam Cole is moving across. There's a rumor.
Yeah, apparently. Yeah.
Samoa Joe last at NXT with Bruce Pritchard and Vince McMahon running it. They just sacked him from Raw, from the main brands.
Sorry, who was that?
Well, Samoa Joe. Bruce.
Yes, and he went to NXT.
Recently. They axed him.
Yeah.
Like it was
Triple H.
Yeah, they brought him back.
Yeah.
And now he's not running it anymore. So how long is he going to last? So it's a bit, and Tony Khan is just sitting there waiting to wrap it all up.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting time. It's a very interesting. It's actually in the last 20 years the most interesting time in pro wrestling, as far as brands, companies versus companies. It's been the most exciting that it has been in the last 20 years.
No, it's and of course, hot on their heels, trying to make some sort of impact, for lack of a better word, and not referring to impact, but of course with NWA trying to fire up and sort of get going again. And I've got some real definite thoughts about that when we start talking about the show we're here to review. But I think AEW, they say perception is reality. The perception at the moment is it's just looking stronger, better, healthier. a little bit more interesting in terms of the talent, the storylines, etc.
Yeah, and the other thing about that situation too is that the NWA is working in with AEW, which is working in with Impact.
Yeah.
So you've got three promotions that are working together, which is, once again, very, very rare for the wrestling industry, have got a working agreement, right, and sharing talent to a certain point, right? And Vince has just taken, I don't want to do nothing with nobody. I'm going to create new talent. That's it. I don't know if Vince is on the right path here, but it's very interesting that that's how the NWA originally was founded. It was all on territories.
Exactly.
You might find this territories. You might find that, the NWA stands around the Chase which was amazing to see wrestling back at the Chase right, in St. Louis, right? So they might dominate that area. You might find that AEW goes, and it might become more territory based, which is something that the industry's needed for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, here in Australia, and where I'm from in New Zealand, it was massive NWA territory. That's all it was.
Well, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, we got the very best of the NWA, including the world champions who came over and did stints over here and whatever. So, I mean, if we're much more aligned to NWA than anything on this side of the world.
Well, that style of show is what I personally like.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. The personal, tastes was what we saw on the pay-per-view. But we'll jump into that in a sec, eh?
Absolutely.
Okay, any other news we got?
Not from what I've read on the news sites. It's been mostly dominated by Bruce Pritchard and McMahon taking over NXT, which personally I do not think Vince McMahon should be anywhere near NXT, considering what he's done with Raw and SmackDown. But that's just my opinion.
Look, I think you have to look at on the point with Vince is that he's not as hands-on as he used to be. And what I can understand is he's a yes man. He likes people who says yes to his ideas no matter what, no questioning. So,
well, he's got people like Laurinaitis, Pritchard, that Kevin Dunn.
Yeah.
A few of them, they seem to be the movers and shakers. And
yeah, the problem is they're not moving and shaking in the right way.
No.
I mean, Triple H, Paul and Shawn Michaels.
Yeah.
They got more of a finger on the pulse with NXT than what the other guys have ever had with Raw or SmackDown.
Right. Oh, well, yeah, and they're, for lack of a better term, are probably a little bit more modern and maybe a bit more realistic in their thinking.
That's right, and they're part of the business. I mean, Laurinaitis was Johnny Ace, but, if his brother wasn't the Animal, then he probably got a gig, right? Reality, right?
Yeah.
And Pritchard was average at best. He knew the right people, right?
He was that brother love.
Yeah. These two guys, as in Michaels and Triple H, they've been stars. They understand the business. If I was going to listen to anyone, I'd be listening to those two guys over the other two guys. But then again, Vince is a yes man. He doesn't want to hear no. And sometimes in great businesses, and they fall apart, they say, why did they fall apart? A lot of times the CEO is a yes man. He just wants to hear people around him say yes. You're right, Vince.
Well, I don't know if you heard, but the episode of Raw that went to air this week, up until 6:00 on that night over there, before the show started, they still hadn't agreed on the matches and what was going to happen. Apparently, all reports say it was the angriest and the loudest they've seen Vince in many, many years, because no one could come up with stories, finishes, matches that they were really happy with on the night, and advertised matches for that night didn't actually go ahead. And it was only almost at bell time that they finally got the card together. But interestingly enough, I'm a fairly big critic of a lot of what they do. I actually thought that Raw show this week was probably one of their better ones.
Yeah, it's been a better one for a while, I think, because they had to perform. They had to come up with something, because Vince was probably ready to kill someone out the back.
Well, they reckon he'd never been so loud and so angry and so demonstrative in probably 20 years.
Yeah, well, like I said, he's lost a lot of key people there. He's lost in the last 2 years in between, Arn Anderson, he lost Malenko. He's lost a lot of guys out the back.
Yeah, big time.
Very, very good at producing matches and very, very good at producing storylines and working in with the writers. I don't think he has that kind of talent there at the moment.
So, interestingly enough, then, if him and Pritchard are taking over NXT, what do they do with Triple H and Shawn Michaels?
Well,
they maybe come back into Raw and SmackDown.
Well, that'd be smart.
Well, it would.
That would be smart. Who knows? But that would be smart. That would be handing like Triple H and Shawn Michaels would be, even if you got a Kevin Nash in there in the back as well. He's a smart guy to the business. He understands how to put things together. He wasn't a great worker himself. He got over, made a lot of money, but he's smart on how he puts a match together. So, there's a whole heap of guys that they could be using, but who knows with WWE? It's AEW at the moment is the ship without a rudder, right, within booking, and WWE is the ship without a clue. There's no
no navigation plan.
Yeah. So wherever we end up. And
look ahead.
and referring back to NWA 73 now.
Yeah.
It seemed the card had a plan. Well, watching the show, the card had a plan of what they wanted out of the show. What did you think, Pete?
I thought as the show went on, it got better. I thought the initially watching, and as you know, I'm fairly critical of the look of a show and the production and all that. I thought the production and the camera work in that early in the show was terrible. Yeah. Absolutely terrible. It looked like a house show that, you'd sort of do in a hall over here or something. The camera work was all over the place. The production of the show, the look and the feel of the room. I didn't think it was pay-per-view worthy from that point of view. It was certainly no WWE or anything else I've seen from a major promotion in America or Japan. I thought it was atmosphere was light. The camera work was all over the place. So the director, obviously wasn't really directing or maybe hadn't directed wrestling before. They had 3 handheld mics and at least one standard one. And it was just all over the place. So I didn't like the look and the feel and the atmosphere it created from a visual point of view. As I said, the first match or two I thought were average, and we'll go through them. But I thought as the show went on, it got better. And it built up. Yeah, they didn't do what some of the others did and have a super U-Butte opening match to maybe set the tone a bit. Set